kids, let us continue with chapter 44 at least. 我现在时间调的好像比较好一点了。我认为44和45 I think I'd be able to fit both of them in under 12 minutes. So let me try. Stanley tried to sleep, not knowing when he would get the chance again. He heard the showers and, later, the sounds of dinner. He heard the creaking of the rec room door. His fingers drummed against the side of the hole. He heard his own heartbeat. He took a drink from the canteen. He had given Zero the water jars. They each had a good supply of onions. He wasn't sure how long he remained in the hole, maybe 5 hours. He was surprised when he heard Zero whispering for him to wake up. He didn't think he'd have fallen asleep. If he had, he thought it must have been just for the last 5 minutes. Although when he opened his eyes, he was surprised how dark it was. There was only one light on at camp, in the office. The sky was cloudy, so there was very little starlight. Stanley could see a sliver of a moon. Sliver 就是细细的一条，被撕下来的东西，被割下来的东西，细细的一条 which appeared and disappeared among the clouds. He carefully led the Zero to the hole, which was hard to find in the darkness. He stumbled over a small pile of dirt. I think this is it, he whispered. You think? Zero asked. It's it, said Stanley, sounding more certain than he really was. He climbed down. Zero handed him the shovel. Stanley stuck the shovel into the dirt at the bottom of the hole and stepped on the back of the blade. He felt it sink beneath his weight. He scooped out some dirt and tossed it off to the side. Then he brought the shovel back down. Zero watched for a while. I'm going to try to refill the water jars, he said. Stanley took a deep breath and exhaled. 吐气，深呼吸，然后吐气。Be careful, he said, then continued digging. It was so dark he couldn't even see the end of his shovel. For all he knew, he could be digging up gold and diamonds instead of dirt. He brought each shovelful close to his face to try to see if anything was there before dumping it out of the hole. As he made the hole deeper, it became harder to lift the dirt up and out. It was 5 feet deep before he even started. He decided to use his efforts to make it wider instead. This made more sense, he told himself. If Kate Barlow had buried a treasure chest, she probably wouldn't have been able to dig much deeper. So why should he? Of course, Kate Barlow probably had a whole gang of thieves helping her. You want some breakfast? Stanley jumped at the sound of Zero's voice. He hadn't heard him approach. 他没有听到他走过来。Approach 就是走过来。Zero handed down a box of cereal. Stanley carefully poured some cereal into his mouth. He didn't want to put his dirty hands inside the box. He nearly gagged on the ultra-sweet taste. They were sugar-frosted flakes. Gagged, 差点噎死. And after eating nothing but onions for more than a week, he had trouble adjusting to the flavor. Flavor 就是口味，他没有办法适应那个味道。He washed them down with a swig of water. swig 就是就是那种喝那种一口那种喝一口水。Zero took over the digging. Stanley sifted his fingers through the fresh piles of dirt in case he had missed anything. Sifted 就是 sift 就是过滤，就是筛子所以他就是用手作为筛子在过滤那个 dirt. He wished he had a flashlight. A diamond no bigger than a pebble would be worth thousands of dollars. Yet, there was no way he could see it. They finished the water that Zero had gotten from the spigot by the showers. Spigot 就是水龙头或者是一个出水的那个东西，这个字要知道。Stanley said he would go fill the jars again, but Zero insisted that he do it instead. Insisted 坚持。No offense, but you make too much noise when you walk. You're too big. No offense 就是没有恶意哈，不是要让你难过，没有恶意。找不到了。Stanley returned to the hole. As the hole grew wider, parts of the surface kept caving in. 因为他把它挖宽了，所以 parts of the surface 这个表面就开始 caving in 垮掉了，往下垮。They were running out of room. To make it much wider, they would first have to move some of the surrounding dirt piles out of the way. He wondered how much time they had before the camp woke up. How's it going? Zero asked when he returned with the water. Stanley shrugged one shoulder. He brought the shovel down the side of the hole, shaving off a slice of the dirt wall. As he did so, he felt the shovel bounce off something hard. What was that? Zero asked. Stanley didn't know. He moved his shovel up and down the side of the hole. As the dirt chipped and flaked away, the hard object became more pronounced. Pronounced 就是越来越清楚，越来越清楚。Chipped and flaked 就是一片一片的削下来 ，flake 就是碎掉，就像 snowflakes 一样。It was sticking out of the side of the hole, about 1.5 feet from the bottom. He felt it with his hands. What is it? Zero asked. He could just feel a corner of it. Most of it was still buried. It had the cool, smooth texture of metal. I think I might have found the treasure chest, he said. His voice was filled more with astonishment than with excitement. 他只能感觉到一个角落，大部分还是埋在里面。It had a cool, smooth texture. Texture 就是那个表面的那个感觉。I think it might have. 他觉得他找到了。Astonishment 惊讶 ，excitement 兴奋。His voice was filled more with astonishment. 他的声音表达出来，他觉得他更惊讶找到了，而不是兴奋。Really? I think so. The hole was wide enough for him to hold the shovel lengthwise and dig sideways into the wall. Lengthwise 就是横的，横向的。And dig sideways 就是横的来挖 into the wall， 横的往一边挖。He knew he had to dig very carefully. He didn't want the side of the hole to collapse, along with a huge pile of dirt directly above it. He scraped at the dirt wall until he exposed one entire side of the box-like object. 直到他把那个箱子的一整边都露出来了。He ran his fingers over it. 他用他的手指头整个划过去，感觉一下。He ran his fingers over it. It felt to be about 8 inches tall. 大概有8寸高 and almost 2 feet wide， 大概有2尺那么宽，2尺大概是60公分。He had no way of knowing how far into the earth it extended. He tried pulling it out, but it wouldn't budge. 他不知道 how far into the earth it extended. 他不知道它伸到地里面有多远。他试着要把它拔出来 ，but it wouldn't budge. 他 budge 这个字一定要知道，就是不肯让步，就是不肯动。He was afraid that the only way to get to it was to start back up at the surface and dig down. They didn't have time for that. I'm going to try to dig a hole underneath it, he said. Then maybe I can pull it down and slip it out. Go for it, said Zero. Stanley jammed the shovel into the bottom edge of his hole and carefully began to dig a tunnel underneath the metal object. He hoped it didn't cave in. Occasionally, he would stop, stoop down, 停下来，弯下去 and try to feel the far end of the box. 他就往里面伸，看看他能不能感觉到另外一边。But even when the tunnel was as long as his arm, he still couldn't feel the other side. Once again, he tried pulling it out, but it was firmly in the ground. Firmly 就是很坚固的、很稳的，卡在里面。If he pulled too hard, he feared he would cause a cave-in. He knew that when he was ready to pull it out, he would have to do it quickly before the ground above it collapsed. 因为他一旦只要把它拉出来了，上面的土都会垮下去。As his tunnel grew deeper and wider, the more precarious 就是越来越危险，因为可能是因为洞越来越大，可能越来越会垮下来。Stanley was able to feel latches on one end of the box, and then a leather handle. 他已经找到把手了。It wasn't really a box. I think it might be some kind of metal suitcase. Can you pry it loose with a shovel? 你可以用这个 shovel pry it loose， 就是把它顶开，把它敲开。敲 Zero suggested. I'm afraid the side of the hole will collapse. You might as well give it a try. Stanley took a sip of water. Might as well. 好吧，试试看吧。He forced the tip of the shovel between the dirt and the top of the metal case and tried to wedge it free. Wedge 就是塞进去，就是试着把它 wedge. He wished he could see what he was doing. He worked the end of the shovel. 他就是从 shovel 的最顶端，棍子的最后面，可能往里面推 back and forth, up and down, until he felt the suitcase fall free. Then he felt the dirt come piling down on top of it. But it wasn't a huge cave-in. 但是幸好垮下来的不是很多。As he knelt down the hole, 他跪在那个洞里面。He could tell that only a small portion of the earth had collapsed. 他感觉到只有一小部分垮下来了。He dug with his hands until he found the leather handle. 他用他的手挖，直到他找到那个皮的把手。And then he pulled the suitcase up and out of the dirt. I got it. It was heavy. He handed it to Zero. You did it, Zero said, taking it from him. We did it, said Stanley. He gathered his remaining strength and tried to pull himself up out of the hole. Suddenly, a bright light was shining in his face. Thank you, said the warden. You boys have been a big help. 哇，被抓住喽。Okay, let's continue next time.